Welcome to Football Forecast Weekly, the most popular football program in America, featuring Dennis Tobler, Trip Mitchell, and Fred Wallen. And now, here's your host, Trip Mitchell.
Welcome to Football Forecast Weekly. Hi, everyone. I'm Trip Mitchell, and I'll be joined by two of the best people you'd ever want to do a football, basketball, any show with, and that's Dennis Tobler in Las Vegas, Nevada, and Fred Wallen in Los Angeles, California. Fred is an amazing broadcaster, has been around for a lot of years. I was lucky enough to work with when I started my career out many years ago. He's the Dean of Sports Broadcasters. And speaking of a Dean's List, Dennis Tobler, one of the top sports bettors in America, been doing it for over 45 years for a living in Las Vegas, Nevada, and very few broken bones to show for it. Dennis, first of all, congratulations. Thanks so much for making us part of the 35th edition of this show. I'm very proud to be on it, and you had a heck of a year last year.
Yes, we had a heck of a year last year, and I must congratulate us. By 1987, we were nationally syndicated around the country with Football Forecast Weekly, and I do believe this year, in 2022, we will have the largest viewership and listenership ever for Football Forecast Weekly. We're going to be on every podcast channel. We're going to be on every OTT. We're going to be on regional sports networks. We're going to be from here to there. So all you have to do is Google Football Forecast Weekly now, and you can find the spot you want to watch it from. So yes, I'm very proud and pleased. I'm really happy to have you two guys as part of the show, and I can't wait to get going.
So Fred, I went back to check on you, and you had a heck of a year last year as well. And I listened to our bowl preview show that we did early in December last year, and you nailed it. You said Georgia was going to be the national champion, and not a lot of people were going on with you on that, and you had some great predictions for the bowl games.
Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. Last year was fine, and I hope that Dennis and I and you do even better this season.
Well, Fred, I wanted to send you roses the day that USC and UCLA shocked the football world by saying they're moving back east to the Big Ten. Any thoughts 6 weeks later on that?
The regents of the University of California might deny UCLA the right to do so. When I see that, I'll believe it, but I hope they do. I think what UCLA did was despicable. You have to tell the other schools in California that are part of your situation what you're doing. You can't run and gun like that just for dough. This country, this world's going nuts. I hope that the regents say no to UCLA. The Big Ten will be happy with USC, and UCLA will have to go back squirming to the Pac-12, Pac-13, whatever you want to, Pac-11, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. And Dennis, I'm wearing a UNLV football shirt because I worked with that program, and there is no conference outside the Mountain West who would take UNLV football. But I always look, and I'm always proud to have been around that team, even though we are not exactly the University of Alabama of college football.
No, but there's a quick possibility we get there. We have the huge Allegiant Stadium now where the Raiders play, and that's where UNLV is going to play. So the facilities we have in Las Vegas now are enough to take a championship team here. We just have to keep them off the streets and out of the casinos.
Okay.
Pretty tough task.
Dennis, we might want to check what you've been smoking if you're saying about UNLV and championship football. But, hey, before we get to our first break, want to ask you, guys, who do you think will be the national champion in January?
Let's defer to Fred. He was right last year.
I don't want to get Nick Saban upset. The odds, I can't bet it. The odds, you're not going to get it. The odds are 3-1, 2-1, something like that. Alabama's going to, in my belief, he's an angry man. You don't fight Nick Saban when he's angry. I'm going with Nick, even though, again, it's not a wager you can make because the odds just are not in our favor.
And
so is that Alabama? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's saying.
I just don't want to upset Nick. I think that
I
he's
just
made his
don't
point.
want our fans out there to know these guys by their first name and not know what team we're talking about.
Watching is a discerning, smart, intelligent, good-looking, and youthful sports bettor. And by the way, I just want to say that if you find another top football show out there with more experience than ours, watch it, because there ain't one out there. And by experience, in my case, I mean years, your case, experience. But we've been through it all. And Dennis, you had a heck of a year in the top football contest. And this is a no BS contest. You know, you listen to all these handicappers who tell you how great they were. Dennis put a couple grand of his hard-earned money into a contest and came within about 5 games of winning $1.5 million. As it was, you're in the top 0.1% of the handicappers, and that is verified. So, Dennis, congratulations on a great year.
3 games from $1 million. Just 3 games from $1 million. Thank you very much, Trip. I appreciate it. We will be giving our best at the contest here in Las Vegas. Invite everybody from out of town, come enter, get a proxy, give it a shot. You can go up against the big boys and see how you can fare. But yeah, it's going to be a great year. My prediction, Fred, to win the college national championship is USC Trojans.
Oh my God. Fred, we've got to not only drug test him, we have to do an alcohol test. Is he nuts? Lincoln Riley is going to go west and have a national championship? Unbelievable.
You bet he is. You
know,
bet he is. He's got the quarterback.
With the transfer portal, anything is possible. I think USC picked up 14 guys after Lincoln said yes to USC. So Dennis could be right on. I mean, obviously he's a UCLA fan. I hope that's not the case, but he could be right on. I know it won't be UCLA.
Well, the Pac-12 would go from the least prestigious of the major Power 5 conferences. And if USC were to do well, if, let's say, Utah was going in at number 8 team in the country, were to get to the championship. Here's the challenge with that. And we're going way long, but I have so much fun talking to you guys, and I haven't done it for a while. But here's the challenge with the Final Four, is the other teams last year, Cincinnati, previously Notre Dame, they always fall to the SEC teams or occasionally Clemson, and it becomes a Southeast affair. I would just be happy if a non-SEC or ACC team were to win the national championship. That's all I want this year. And I'm going to send Santa Claus a note right now.
One small comment there with the transfer portals the way they are, and with what Fred said earlier, you're going to see all of that happen in the future.
Okay. Well, you heard it right there. For Dennis Tobler and Fred Wallen, I'm Trip Mitchell. I'm lucky enough to be hosting the 35th year of this show. It's a lot of fun. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Now place your bets. This groundbreaking film details the dramatic rise of legal sports betting in Las Vegas and its growth into a multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. Through in-depth interviews, personal accounts, and vintage footage, we highlight the key elements and milestones that shaped the sports betting industry into what it is today. This history also dovetails with the changing fortunes of Las Vegas as a gambling town at turns overseen by the elements of organized crime, corporate interests, and the U.S. government. Featured prominently in the film are pioneer odds makers and historians who witnessed these events. Today, betting on sports is a popular pastime and a lifestyle choice for many Americans. Its appeal incorporates the innate drive for competition and the rewards of winning. Watch Now Place Your Bets on Amazon Prime and NowPlaceYourBets.com.
Important health announcement regarding Camp Lejeune.
If you or someone you know spent time at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina prior to 1988 and developed any of these cancers or suffered any of these injuries, you may be eligible for significant financial compensation. Call Camp Lejeune victims to discuss your case now.
Leaking underground tanks contaminated the drinking water with benzene and other highly carcinogenic chemicals, up to 280 times acceptable levels in some instances.
There have been numerous reported cases of exposed personnel developing cancer and other serious health conditions. It is critical to take action and call Camp Lejeune victims now.
If you or someone you know spent time at Camp Lejeune before 1988 and you developed any of these cancers or injuries, call to determine your eligibility for financial compensation now. If you don't win, you pay nothing.
Call 800-828-3058. That's 800-828-3058.
And welcome back to Football Forecast Weekly. Trip Mitchell up in the Northern Rockies, Fred Wallen in beautiful LA, where the rain is aplenty and his beautiful green grass looks like the Sahara Desert. And Dennis Tobler in Las Vegas at Bet Central. And let's get to it. Okay, we're going to start at the top. So the football prognosticators, which is a big word, which I struggled through, look at the Buccaneers having the highest total coming in. Their betting line is over 11 and a hook or under 11 and a half. Dennis, what are your thoughts on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers?
Way too many. I'm going under the total of 11 and a half in this situation. He does not have Gronkowski this year, and I'm not sure Tom's even that sold on playing. So I'm going to go under 11 and a half on Tampa.
Okay, Fred.
I agree with Dennis. Right now, as we tape this program, he's not even in camp. It's going to take 2 weeks off, which indicates I don't know what it indicates, but the point is I don't trust Todd Bowles winning 12 to 13 games. We'll see what happens. Look, Brady wants to go out a winner. I don't think he's going to get it done. They've got a lot of talent. There's no question about that. But as Dennis indicated, Gronkowski at tight end is tough to beat. He's not there. So unless in the middle of the season, Brady can convince them to come back, I don't think they're going to get 12 or more victories. So I think you got to go under with Tampa Bay.
And the point with Brady not being at camp when we're taping this show, that would have never happened up in New England. I'll guarantee you Belichick wouldn't have put up with it. That maybe in the case of Tampa Bay with a new coach, the inmates are running the asylum. I don't know if, it just doesn't seem straight. So I think that's probably pretty good. Last year, Tampa Bay, coming back off winning the Super Bowl, brought back, I think, 21 out of their 22 or even 22 starters. And it sounds good in theory, but you need some turnover as part of the NFL. So we'll see how they do. The next team, we've got another aged quarterback, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers at 11 games. Fred, we're going to start with you on that. Is Aaron Rodgers rededicated to the Packers now that all the kerfuffle is over and he's dumped another fiance, and is he ready for football?
I know he's not vaccinated. That's for sure. He lost Devontae Adams to Vegas. That's a major difference. He's already screaming at his wide receivers, young wide receivers, for not catching the ball. That's not the kind of leader I want. I want the leader to take the blame sometimes and get the new guys to feel good about themselves. And he's already opening his mouth. Get vaccinated, and maybe I'll be in your corner. But at this point, look, the Packers have. He's an all-time great. I don't think he's going to retire until he's got every one of Brady's records. That's how big his ego is. I call him Aaron Ego, okay? But you just don't start a season screaming at your young wide receivers, specifically because you lost your best wide receiver in Adams. So they're going to get their 12 or 13 wins. What's the exact number? I saw 11 and a half, and I saw 12. Is it 12 and a half, or is it 12?
We're going to go for this show at 11. So, and as Chris Berman used to call it, the Norris division, with Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, another unvaccinated quarterback, Chicago, which is Fields not going to be doing great, in Detroit. Green Bay gets a lot of easy wins. But so what number would you? So at 11,
if it's 11, I'm going over. But he's going to have to he's going to have to show the kids, the young guys, that he cares about them and not himself. They're going to get their 12 wins. So I guess you got to go over at this point in time.
Okay, and Dennis.
Well, I think you're right. They're going to get a lot of easy conference wins. They always do. I don't know, though. They start off slow every year, and it doesn't sound like they're going to start off fast this year with Rodgers yelling at everybody. And I can tell you myself from playing on the football field, the minute the damn quarterback starts yelling at you, that's about the time you want to wrap up and slap him, or else let your guy go and put him on the ground. So, Rodgers and these arrogant quarterbacks that make $100 million, sometimes their blabbermouth gets them in trouble. I don't think they're going to win that many games this year. I think Davante Adams was all he had, and he had something when he had him. And I don't like the coaching situation. I think Aaron Rodgers runs the whole team. And if the morale goes, the team goes. I'm just going to play it under.
Okay. And our next team up is my favorite team, and that is the Buffalo Bills. And the number that I'm showing here is 11.5 games. Dennis, what do you think about the Buffalo Bills with one of the best young quarterbacks in football and arguably the best fan base, the Western New York fan base? Dennis?
Well, there's one thing I want to make a comment here, that for all these teams like this to be up to have 11 and 12 wins on the season, as much as the NFL has been a 50-50 league over the last few years, I think 11 and 12 wins are way too high for about anybody. I think 11.5 too many wins for the Buffalo Bills too. I know they're going to be good. I know they're going to be better than they were before, but they didn't win the Super Bowl last year. So we'll see where it goes with them. But I'm going to play under that too. In this, when you're looking forward in the season, and I want to get a disclaimer out there for all the serious bettors, before you put your money down for 6 months to see what the outcome of the season is going to be, you better be damn sure you're going to be right. Because to tie up your money that long, you can turn it over every month on a per se basis and end up with more than you do picking these team totals. So if you're doing it for fun, do it for fun. And in this one here, I'm going under. Sorry, Trip.
And Fred?
We disagree. Sometimes old people disagree. And Dennis is very old.
And by the way, Fred, when Dennis talked about letting a defensive lineman through to tackle his quarterback, the rest of us at Football Forecast Weekly do not encourage that behavior. But Dennis was playing with a leather helmet, so who knows?
The Buffalo Bills finished 11-6 last year. They lost 5 games that they could have won. They lose by 2, 3, 4 points. I don't think Sean McDermott's a bad coach. So that's going to balance out. So there you got, let's say you win 2 or 3 of those, you got 13 or 14 wins. As you indicated, Trip, I think that Allen, Herbert, and Mahomes, the best 3 quarterbacks in the National Football League. And in some ways, Allen may be the toughest to stop, because most of the quarterbacks in the league think pass first and they run only when they have to. Some quarterbacks, like
our friend,
like in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson, you think run first and he'll pass only when he has to. Allen can do both. He doesn't think run. He doesn't think pass. He might be the best quarterback in this league. I think they'll go over.
And the other thing, Fred and Dennis, is Allen is a big studly character. If you look at Kyler Murray or the Jackson or these other quarterbacks, they're not big guys. But Josh Allen, when he hits, if cornerbacks don't want to tackle him, if he breaks through, he's a big stud. And
no, I'll give you a fair warning. If you base all your selections on who the quarterback is and all the press they get, you're always going to say they're going to win more games than they lose. Fact of the matter is, they're no better off than anybody else. The rules over these years has just made it easier for the quarterbacks to survive. They can't get hit. The receivers can't get hit. I mean, the quarterbacks are overrated. Okay, let's move on down the line.
Okay, well, let's go to another team with a quarterback that I think is one of the most amazing quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs at a number 10.5. Dennis, I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to get to Fred, because Fred and I agree that Patrick Mahomes is amazing.
Yes, Dennis? Mahomes is amazing, and that they may get to 11 wins, but I doubt it. They won't get to 11.5. Look, Andy Reid's a terrible coach. He's always been a terrible coach, and I don't care what anybody says. I've watched him coach everywhere, and he's never won anything that you can speak of. So he's a terrible coach. Mahomes can throw the ball sidearm, but over the years, I've told you each and every year he does a little bit less. because the defensive coordinators are cutting down into his action. They didn't win the Super Bowl last year. They didn't even get there. So, I'm going to say, yes, they're going to win over 10.5 games. And I'm going to hold my breath. I sure as hell wouldn't put much money on it.
Hey, Fred, cancel that interview for Dennis Tobler to be Andy Reid's agent. I think that interview process will go poorly. Fred, what do you think?
They lose Tyreek to Miami. With that said, if you remember last year, they started very, very slowly. When they had to win, what happened? In the regular, they won. That's going to happen this year too. 12 or 13 or 14 wins for the Kansas City Chiefs. And what was Mahomes' contract? $500 million. He'll earn it. I'll take Kansas City over the number.
Okay, and Dennis, we're going to the Rams. Do you think we should disqualify Fred because he's a Southern Californian, or what the heck? We're going to start with Fred. So
no, I think Fred knows more than the rest of us on the Rams.
I'll guarantee you that about most things. 10.5 on the Rams. Fred, what are your thoughts? Defending Super Bowl champs.
Ironically, I'm not a Sean McVay guy. If you followed the Rams last couple of years, there were games he played too close to the vest. He played not to lose, and they actually lost. Now, very fortunate in the playoffs. I'm like, you can't take that away from him. But I'm not a big McVay fan. You've got a bad elbow with Stafford, and he's not going to marry Lily of AT&T. That's a rumor I started. He'd have to go through a divorce. But he likes her very much, but he's not going to separate her. Obviously, they start in Buffalo, first game. So, that's going to tell you something right away. And they're going to go over 10.5. Okay. But it's very tough to repeat in the National Football League as Super Bowl champion. So, they may go 11, 12 victories. I don't see them winning it. Akers is an awfully fine running back. Apparently he's 100% this year. He is tough to stop, but they're going to get their 11 or 12 wins, and they're going to win it. But somewhere along the line, McVay will play it too tight, and they'll lose in the playoffs, in my humble opinion.
Okay, NFC winning the last 2 Super Bowls. Brady in his first year at Tampa Bay, and then Matthew Stafford, the Georgia product, coming over from the Lions and winning it. Let's stay in L.A., the Chargers. Another great young quarterback, as Fred mentioned. Let's talk about the Chargers. The number we have is 10. Are they going to do better than 10 wins this year, Fred?
Brandon Staley definitely cost them a chance to make the playoffs last year by calling that ridiculous timeout. That was not his only error. Believe me. They've got the wide receivers. They've got Herbert. They're going to go over. They're going to go over the number this year. Staley will save his job. Anthony Lynn, of course, fired 2 years ago. They're going to get over the number. But again, there were very few great coaches. Belichick, great coach. But there are very few coaches that I would say win you games that you shouldn't win. And Staley is not one of these guys off of what I've seen so far. Even McVay is not what that would indicate at this point of his career. There are very few coaches in the National Football League that win games that they shouldn't win. So, again, they're going to go over, and we'll see what happens as far as that is concerned.
Okay, so, Dennis, we need to get your thoughts on the Rams and the Chargers.
The Rams, I agree with Fred. I agree that they will go over. I'm going to disagree with Fred on this one and probably a lot of them in the AFC West. I don't see how Kansas City, the Chargers, Denver Broncos with Russell, and the newly reformed Las Vegas Raiders, it's going to be dog eat dog in that conference, man. They could win one, lose. They could split every game, each one of them, and not have a 10-win season. So I'm playing under on the Chargers. I'm not as sold on their offensive prowess as Fred is. I mean, they're good, but they still have to stop the other team from scoring. And I think they're overrated. I think they might end up at the bottom of the AFC West. Sorry, Fred.
Okay, well, Fred will, we'll reconvene in 4 months and see who's right on that. We got one more team before we go to the break. We're going to talk about the Ravens, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the Cowboys, Jerry Jones' team. But let's bring up the Ravens right now. One of the most exciting quarterbacks in football. Contract issue. He's his own agent. And as they say in the legal profession, what do they say about being your own lawyer? You got a terrible client or something.
You're a fool.
Yeah,
You're a fool.
So, Dennis, on the Ravens, I got 9.5, the number. Over or under, Dennis? What's your thought?
Well, they should go over 9.5, but doesn't he get hurt every year? And he wants a 5-year deal worth, I don't know, $600 million or something. He must be the highest paid quarterback in the league. He seems to me like he gets hurt all the time. He can't make quick decisions. I'm not saying he's not the greatest quarterback in the National Football League by any stretch of the imagination. He has to put it together over a period of time like Rodgers and like Brady and like Mahomes in order to be considered in that league. But, yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. I'm going to go over.
And Fred, Harbaugh has all of a sudden, he's built up a lot of years in Baltimore, and he certainly gets a lot of respect as maybe one of those coaches who can get more out of his team than they normally would. Another coach might be able to get.
Except last year, he cost him a couple of games by making stupid decisions. And I mean, an average football fan would say that really is stupid. He was trying to prove a point. He's a stubborn guy, just like his brother at Michigan. He's too stubborn. And I agree with Dennis from the perspective that I don't want my quarterback negotiating more money while the season is going on or something to that effect. And Lamar Jackson is not the best quarterback in the league. He's not worth more than $500 million as Mahomes makes. He's not a lot of quarterbacks are better than him. He thinks run first. Fine. But you're not going to win with a quarterback who runs because, first of all, you can get injured. But he runs first. I think 9.5 is a high number for Baltimore. I see them going 8-9, 7-10 in that range, and not much better.
Okay. On that note, we're going to take a short break. As I mentioned, we come back, the Cowboys. But first of all, excuse me, want to mention one of the great documentaries of all time, and by many people considered the best sports documentaries ever, and that's Now Place Your Bets. And this is a fabulous documentary about the history of sports betting with some big people involved with it, including Pete Rose. Excuse me. And Dennis was able to get an amazing interview with Pete Rose talking about his proclivity for gambling. And both Fred and I worked with him at times at various sports networks. And at one point we had him at the MGM Grand. And at the 7-minute break at the top of the hour, Pete was over betting the ponies. So he is a bettor. If it's 4 legs, 2 legs, if it's on skates, rollerblades, whatever, Pete Rose will get a wager down on it. Now Place Your Bets, a great, great sports movie. And please order it. We'll have some information during one of the breaks.
Yeah, let's tell them how they can get to it, Trip. Send them right to the website, nowplaceyourbets.com. You can go there. You can watch the video, or you can order a DVD. And it's on Amazon Prime Video also. Now Place Your Bets, the history of sports betting in America. #1 sports betting film in the world. You must see it if you're going to be a professional bettor.
Okay. On that note, we'll take another break. We'll be right back.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Diabetics understand all too well the pain of pricking your fingers. But now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can immediately reduce your pain. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 4 or more times daily, injecting insulin 3 or more times daily, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now to learn about this groundbreaking new CGM technology. And if you have Medicare, you can get a new CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. Shipping is free, and we'll even bill your insurance company for you. If you are testing your blood sugar 4 or more times daily, injecting insulin 3 or more times daily, or using an insulin pump, Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now to learn how you can get your own continuous glucose monitor or CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
And welcome back to the show. Let's talk about the Cowboys. We're looking at a number of 10, and that seems a little ambitious. Dennis, I'm going to start with you because you're our top expert. What do you think of the Cowboys at 10 games?
I think that's way too many games for the Cowboys to win. I think they're in deep trouble. Zach is no quarterback. We know that. We've watched that for year in, year out. Zeke is not a running back. We know that. We've watched that. And Jerry Jones just does not know how to put talent together. That's all there is to it. He spends most of his time on the top of that restaurant in downtown Dallas, and that's where he holds his court. He don't really care much, I don't think, because he's got the most valuable sports team in America, the Dallas Cowboys, and they don't even have to win to get that moniker. So, no, I don't think they will meet their win total this year. And I'm not impressed with Zach. I'm not impressed with Zeke. And I'm not impressed with any lineman they have. And also, their defense is always their weak spot. What are you going to do with Dallas? They're not America's team.
Fred, how do you feel? How do you think Dennis feels about the cheerleaders?
You know, I can't disagree with anything Dennis just said there. I think Jerry Jones' mind is elsewhere. $7.6 billion the club is worth. It's not America's team anymore because they're just not as good as they used to be. I disagree with him about Dak, though. I think he's a better quarterback, I think that Dennis is saying. And I think if Zeke is healthy, come on. You saw him at Ohio State. You saw him when he was healthy. He's a top-notch running back. 10's a high number, though, so I'm going to go under. But it's not – I don't think they're as bad as Dennis indicates.
Okay, let's go to the Colts. Fred, we'll start with you. 10, the number.
Oh, well, they have a new quarterback.
Don't they all?
A quarterback who has a lot to prove. I got to say something though. I think if healthy, Wentz is not a bad quarterback. I think maybe he's been treated a little bit unfairly, but anyway, they have a new quarterback. I think that's going to make a difference. Obviously, they've got a wide receiver, and they've got a top-notch coach. I think Reich is a top-notch coach. The number's 10. Did you indicate?
Yep.
I think they're going over. Last year they were 9-8. I think they're going 11 or 12. I think they're going over and they make the playoffs, and then we'll see what happens. But again, Ryan's got a lot to prove, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, and Dennis.
I'm going to agree with Fred, unbelievably, and 10 is a high number for Indianapolis, and that kind of is why I'm going to agree, because I think Ryan fits right into their scheme, and I disagree about Wentz. He's another one of these overrated crybaby quarterbacks, and you'll see he won't take the Commanders anywhere either. So anyway, I think Matt Ryan can throw the ball. He got stuck in some bad situations in Atlanta. And when they lost the Super Bowl that year, when they going into halftime and ended up blowing the Super Bowl, Atlanta went to hell from that point forward. Okay. And Ryan needs a new start because he's about all they had. And he's got the tools there. He's got the running back, the best running back in the league, maybe. And it's certainly going to help him in his passing game. And they don't have that big of schedule to overcome. So I'm going to agree with Fred. I think they'll go over 10.
Okay, Dennis, we're going to keep it here. We'll go out to San Francisco, and Jimmy Garoppolo, Us, the greatest soap opera in the NFL this last year. What's going on there? The Niners number from DraftKings is 10. And Dennis, we'll start with you on that.
Well, I don't know what they're going to do with Garoppolo and Trey. And I don't think we're going to get any indication until the season starts either, because I don't think the coach wants to play anybody during the preseason time to see what they can do. Look, they closed the year out really well. They still have Deebo Samuels, right? They still have Deebo. And I think they're going to be tough. I don't know. They just play well. I'm going to go over 9.5. Is that the number, 9.5?
And 10 we're going with.
Yeah, well, I'll say they'll win at least 10.
Okay. And Fred?
First of all, let me say something, and people have been writing about this, and I think it's true. We went from 4 exhibition games to 3 exhibition games when they added the 1 game in the regular season. So what's going on here is none of the regular players are playing at all in some cases. It's unfair to the fans who have to buy season tickets, who have to pay for the exhibition preseason games at the same price. But you really, up until the 2nd or 3rd week of the regular season, these guys haven't played at all. So it's very, very difficult. It's a very tricky situation. When you played 4, the 2nd game, they play some of their regulars when they played 4 exhibition games. They're not doing that. They're only playing 3, and they're not playing the guys at all. You can't tell. I don't know if Trey Lance from North Dakota State is a top-notch quarterback. I mean, he played at North Dakota State, fine Division II. That's not Alabama or Ohio State or USC. We'll see. Garoppolo seems to win even without the big arm, wherever he goes. So I don't know if the team is split down the middle. You like Lance, you like Garoppolo, but that's not a good situation to be in. And finally, Kyle Shanahan is not my favorite coach on earth. With that said, I'm going under with the 49ers.
Okay, and we're going to go to the Broncos. Picking up a great quarterback, the Wisconsin, North Carolina product. Tremendous in Seattle. One of the worst interceptions ever, and we're not going to lay it on Wilson. That was a coaching error by the guru. But how are the Broncos going to be? The number we're going to use from DraftKings is 10. Fred, under or over?
He's my favorite quarterback of the modern era. He's a bright guy. He gives to charities, these golf tournaments. Him and his wife are given $250,000, $500,000 for charitable situations. He's my favorite quarterback, but he's not what he was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I think they're going under, the Denver Broncos. They've got wide receivers. I just don't think Wilson might get hurt again. You saw what happened last season. I'm sorry to say it, because as you indicated, I saw him play at North Carolina State, and I saw him play at Wisconsin. I knew he'd be a good quarterback. I had no idea how good he was. He's not at that level right now. Hard for me to say. Denver's going under.
Okay, and Dennis.
Well, I disagree with Fred on that. I think you're going to see the best out of Russell now. I think that he got away from a team that couldn't block for him and had no receivers. So I think going to Denver is going to be a big help, and I really think that Russell will make a big difference there. So I'm gonna go under, though, because I'm telling you again, the Chargers, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Raiders, all of them cannot possibly have 8 or 10 or 11 wins. They play in the same division, so I don't think they'll go over the 10 simply because the number's too high and the division's too tough. But I look for them to be much improved.
Okay, and then real quick, we're going to get to the Eagles at 9.5 and the Bengals. But let's start with the Eagles. Dennis, we're going to keep it right here with you.
Well, the Eagles are getting a lot of play in town here at 9.5. They were less than that earlier in the year, so they think the Eagles are going to be very good this year. 9.5 is a big total, but they don't play anybody either. I'm going to play over 9.5 on what should be a new revamped Eagles team. And the Bengals, they got there last year. They'll probably get there this year. They will have a much tougher schedule, however. And I don't know what's their total? What's
10.
their team? 10? No, I don't think they'll make 10.
Okay. And Dennis, or Fred, excuse me.
I think the Bengals will go over. Burrow's a top-notch young quarterback. And again, you can't judge anything on quarterbacks. Dennis is right on that. But sometimes a quarterback can get you over the hump. So I think the Bengals will probably win 11 or 12 games. Eagles, I think, I was a big fan of Jalen Hurts. He got pushed out of Alabama. I didn't like the way he was treated down there. He's an average, a little bit above average quarterback. Dennis indicates that, it's not a tough division versus some of the others, but still 10 is a tough, 9.5 or 10 is a tough number to reach. So I'm going to say the Eagles with Hurts go a little bit under that number, probably finish 8-9 or 7-10.
Okay, we're going to take a break and we'll come back and finish up the NFL. You're watching Football Forecast Weekly with Dennis Tobler, Fred Wallen, and Trip Mitchell. We'll be right back.
Important health announcement regarding Camp Lejeune.
If you or someone you know spent time at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina prior to 1988 and developed any of these cancers or suffered any of these injuries, you may be eligible for significant financial compensation. Call Camp Lejeune victims to discuss your case now.
Leaking underground tanks contaminated the drinking water with benzene and other highly carcinogenic chemicals, up to 280 times acceptable levels in some instances.
There have been numerous reported cases of exposed personnel developing cancer and other serious health conditions. It is critical to take action and call Camp Lejeune victims now.
If you or someone you know spent time at Camp Lejeune before 1988 and you developed any of these cancers or injuries, call to determine your eligibility for financial compensation now. If you don't win, you pay nothing.
Call 800-828-3058. That's 800-828-3058.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call right now. 800-923-6956. 800-923-6956. 800-923-6956. That's 800-923-6956.
Listen up, football fans. For this week's best bets, call us at 1-888-604-6863. That's 1-888-604-6863. Be a winner. 888-604-6863.
Well, welcome back to the show. We've had a chance to go through and highlight the top teams in the NFL. If your team didn't get mentioned today, the win total is a little bit less. But we want to just emphasize that Dennis has been one of the top sports bettors in America for 45 years. He has made his living betting sports, the ponies. This guy knows his stuff. Fred Wallen has been covering the top teams as one of the most respected sports journalists and broadcasters. These two guys are a lot of fun to work with. They've given us some great information. And one of the things that I've picked up from today's show, gentlemen, is the fact that if you've got an amazing, let's take a look at the AFC West, for instance. You've got some amazing teams there. If you've got a total for your team at over 10 or 11 games, it's going to be awfully tough to get there. Dennis, you've hit that point, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it does too. And once again, I want to caution everybody about putting up cash money on team totals or any kind of long-term proposition bet. You're better off betting your single wagers and sticking to your bankroll. That's the best way to get from here to there in the gambling business.
So you want to turn that money, Dennis? Is that correct? You don't
want to. You want to turn your money. I mean, it's a different situation if you're putting up $1,000 to enter a contest that pays back $1 million at the end, but that never happens in these things. You put up, sometimes you'll lay $175 only to win 100 back. I think that's what the odds are on some of those top teams. Ridiculous. Do not tie your money up like that. We'll give you winners every week for the next 21 weeks.
Okay. And Fred, there's only one show in America that will do over and under totals, and then at the end of the show, tell you not to bet them. That's us.
Let me just add this. This will be Pete Carroll's last season in Seattle. I'm not religious, but thank God. He's had it. He's had it. Geno Smith, not a bad quarterback. I'm sorry. He's going to pay the price for whatever he's done in his football career, leaving USC, the Reggie Bush deal, whole circumstance, blaming others. Pete Carroll's done. They'll be lucky to win 6 or 7 games this year.
So
I agree. So we covered Seattle now.
So let's go back on the Wayback Machine when Pete Carroll made arguably the worst offensive play call in the history of You must have been just amazed.
Everybody
Yes.
was amazed.
Yeah, even if it was
I
Carroll,
mean,
I was-
everybody was so mad they lost so much money that never go away. They'll never go away. That's the biggest blunder Carroll ever made, and it'll go with him to his grave.
Fred, were you? Did you go through a box of Kleenex crying for Pete Carroll?
Never. And again, I'm a UCLA fan, not USC. He knew what was going on with the Reggie Bush thing. He ran out on the program. He's blamed when they win, he takes credit. When they lose, he blames the players. That can't be. That's like Aaron Rodgers, as a quarterback. A coach has got to pass, the buck stops here. And it's got to, when they lose, you got to take responsibility. When have you ever heard him say, I made a mistake? Ever?
Well, I'm still waiting for but he is, you got to give him this. He's very youthful. So he run,
to stay youthful by running up and down the sidelines, but I'm not sure that's going to do him any good anymore. I mean, I'm the same age he is, and running up down sidelines not good for you. I don't care who you are. So I agree with Fred. I think he's on his way out too. And some of these lesser teams in the NFL, that's why the season totals are really high, because some of these teams are really bad. And some of them are really going to suffer this year. So there's going to be a lot of difference. There's going to be some upsets, but generally this year you're going to see the favorites prevail.
Okay. Well, on that note, we want to thank everyone involved in the show. First of all, Fred Wallen, great to get a chance to visit with you each and every week. You're someone, when I started in the business, I really looked up to, and as good a broadcaster as you are, you're a nicer guy, and I'm really looking forward to another year of working with you. And Dennis, what can I say? You're the man, and we've been doing this a long time. And
I would like to add something before we go out. We've talked about us a lot, but Trip Mitchell was the first man to own a hockey team in Las Vegas, Nevada. So you can just get some idea of the experience this man has in every sports there was. I mean, can you imagine being the first owner of a hockey team here that played at Santa Fe Casino long before the Golden Knights, long before the others? Trip Mitchell was there blazing the trail. Trip, I want to thank you for blazing the trail with us all this time too. So thank you.
By the way, last night we pulled the Squatch, my men's league team here in beautiful Salt Lake, down 1-0, facing elimination in the playoffs. We scored 4 straight. So the joy is tomorrow night, I get to play at 10:30 in the league semifinals. So I'm the oldest player in the league and still love it. And you know what? This is a show where old dogs have lots of tricks. And when it comes to sports betting, experience is important. If you see a guy who's trying to tell you who to bet on, who just started shaving, maybe you need to maybe go a little older. But anyway, I'm so excited about this year. Alan, our new man back in Tennessee, is going to be helping us out this year. The show is going to have a great look. We're excited about it. For Dennis Tobler, Fred Wallen, I'm Trip Mitchell saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. You take care. Bye-bye.